Going into your senior year, your final spring practice was interrupted when you had sports hernia surgery.
Yeah.
How's it feel now? Is there any lingering pain, any limitations on what you can do?
Not really. I feel pretty much like I'm back to 100%. It was hurting a little bit after the surgery, but after I just got a little bit of rehab done and got over the sports summer, the summer I went through a lot of workouts, so everything was pretty good.
Coach Jones had said he was going to look at you on offense and defense, and then you got shut down with the injury.
Yeah.
How frustrating was that, and did that do anything to derail the plan of playing both sides of the ball?
I'm not in the coach's head, so I really don't know how much they thinking about it anymore, but I was doing pretty good, I think, on receivers on that side of the ball. So really I'm just waiting for them to call my number, and whenever they want me to go back to that side, I'll be willing to.
The idea is to play both, and you're a punt returner. Do you worry about wearing down by never coming off the field if you end up playing all three roles?
Really last year, a couple past years, I really been feeling like I was just sitting on the side, and I really didn't see myself that tired at the end of the games. I mean, you beat up from getting hit and that, but really just to say I was dog tired, I wouldn't say that much. I mean, you come from high school playing every snap, and I mean, that's pretty much what I did in high school, so I don't even think I'd be getting as many reps as I did back then. Of course, it's at a higher pace and everything, but I think I'm in better shape now than I was then, so should be good.
When you talk about the fatigue that goes along with playing offense and defense and special teams, that's one thing, but if you're going to offense as well, do you worry about the time spent watching film in position meetings would take away from your ability on defense?
Not really. I think it would just make me a better football player all around. I mean, offense is the opposite of defense, so if you know what the offensive guy is doing, you'll be better on defense. So I just take it as that. Like, I mean, if I'm in a film room looking at offensive film or defensive film, I'm getting better as a football player all in general, and that's what I'm trying to do out here.
When you look at last year's defense, SMU tied the record for interceptions returned for touchdowns. When you look at Ryan Smith went down for the year, Brett Hannis, J.R. Richardson, Horace Richardson, all down for the year. Do you ever sit back and wonder how good that defense could have been last year if all your guys were healthy?
Really, you think back and you just be like, man, that really would have been good to have all those guys there. But then you look at it like, I mean, some of those guys that wouldn't have got to play, like Chris Parks and some other people got to get in there and get their feet wet. Greenbauer, people like that are starters for us now. So I think it made us better this year. And I really can't think about last year because I think it helped us a lot for this year, and that's all I care about.
Obviously, at the beginning of last year, I guess the plan was Ryan Smith would be starting, and he did at the beginning of the year. The plan was for J.R. Richardson probably to be starting, and like you said, Chris Parks stepped in, Hayden Greenbauer stepped in and played all year long, basically. Mm-hmm. Did either of them do anything that surprised you?
Greenbauer actually really surprised me. I mean, I'm always out here playing with him. He usually would be like a scout team quarterback or a scout team running back, something that you'll see then. But just knowing that he was in there and was able to just step in right when his number was called, it was just like it was no drop off at all from Smitty. So it just was nice to see a guy that I came in with and been working with just come in and just show what he could do and keep his spot. So I think I really want to see how much improvement Greenbauer makes this year, just having those couple games under his belt.
Everybody loses people to graduation. You lost Ryan Smith, Brad Hannis, Keith Robinson, but you get back those guys who were hurt, J.R. and Horace Richardson. Then you got some young guys like Shaquille Randolph who've got a year under their belt, and then all the freshmen. How does this year's secondary compare to last year's?
This year's secondary, I think they took a lot of what the older guys gave us last year, and they really just internally just took it in and they ran with it. And I think that helped us a lot. And I think we're better, we're more mature, we have more depth, and it just gives us a hunger where everybody feels like they should start and everybody feels like they should play. So every play just seems like it counts a little bit more.
Last year, it seemed like a lot of the talk centered around you or Chris Parks or, certainly the guys who got hurt. And the one constant along with you who was back there all year long was Jay Scott. And he finished fourth on the team in tackles. He was second to you in passes broken up. Is he sort of the unsung hero or the most underappreciated guy?
Yeah, I think Jay Scott doesn't get the recognition that he needs, actually, because I mean, if you look at it, when Smitty went down, he hopped to the other side and played the spot that Smitty was playing for a little bit when Shaquille got in, and then when Greenbauer came, he went back to his old position. It's like the guy just can go in there whenever you need him. He knows every scheme, he knows every position, and it's just like he's there and he's gonna be in the right spot. And I feel like Jay Scott really is like a backbone of our secondary. He is good to know when Jay Scott's on your backside.
the last couple of years, this defense, the secondary is starting to take on a little bit different look. When you look at Shaquille and Miles Crosby and Jesse Montgomery, they're recruiting some big defensive backs here. Do you ever step back and sort of look into your crystal ball and figure out what the secondary is going to look like in a couple of years when these guys really learn the defense and figure out what they're doing?
Yeah, I think it's going to be, it's real. I'm going to make sure I come back and see what these guys are doing, because a lot of these young guys is really showing me a lot, and I think that it's going to be a good thing to see in a couple years what these guys are able to do. So it just makes me even happier to see that these young guys are getting it so fast, and I'm glad that I just could be a part of them growing.
When you look at the young guys, I know you're only a few days in, but you work with them over the summer in the 7-on-7 stuff. Any of the either really young returning guys or true freshmen jump out at you and catch your attention so far?
D. Richardson, he's a safety, 29 I think it is. He's real instinctive, and I like the way he plays the ball, so I really want to see what that guy does. And yeah, he's one that really just jumped out at me off the top of my head.